No! You see, in a movie, we can't say cut, and we have to start again. So what I have my mic on. Okay. Are we ready to roll? Stand by. Final checks. Final checks. Where's it? Where's it? Yeah. Oh, but the pack is. This is a man fiddling with my fanny pack. Yes, we tried so hard to make this work. But so we're going to have to now remember where you were. We call it back to number one. Are you in your number one position?
It's like this.
I'm just going to turn up my chant. Okay, ready? Filmmaking's mostly about stand. No, excuse me. Yeah, I think we forgot the cue. Am I live on this? Okay, I think I'm live on this, so we'll go with this. But okay, excuse me. So now the cue. Okay, we're going to roll tape again. Yeah, the cue. As we rehearse, is when 3PO kind of looks up with a headache. Then we cut to a still, at which point the music comes in, and then the name Anthony Daniels comes up. That is when we need to say, please welcome Anthony. Do you want to rehearse this?
Sure, we can rehearse it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen.
I'm going to mime the thing.
Okay.
So you're watching the film, and 3PO cut out Return of the Jedi. Remember that? Yeah. So stand by. That's your preview. Oh my goodness! It cuts to a still, which zooms in. At which point the music comes in. My name comes up. That's when you say, "Please welcome Anthony Daniels."
When your name comes up.
Yeah. So you could read it.
Absolutely.
Certainly. So are we set up to rotate? Okay. Everybody in there, number one. No,
Yes.
You won, okay, stand by. Final checks. Cool. Okay, and
Places.
rotate and action.
Did you hear that? They shut down the main reactor. We'll be destroyed for sure. This is madness.
Yay! Woo!
I finally made it. Oh, thank you so much for that. Look at me starring with a bottle of water, like working with R2-D2, a prop. But this is kind of does something. I'm going to put it there. Thank you. This is nice. Okay, thank you so much for that double welcome. The thing that amazed me being in Star Wars for the first time, my first film, was we would do a scene and action, cut, and it was terrible, and then we were moving on. And it was the first time I realized what an editor did. The editor cuts out all the rubbish. So I came on, it didn't quite happen, so we cut. We go back to number one, we start again, and the second time we get it right. And that's the bit you see. You also didn't see what the camera doesn't see. If the camera doesn't look at it, you can't see it. Only I can see all the stuff that's going on around, all the people behind the camera, and all the shouting of instructions. You know, okay, do it again faster, and you're in the middle of a scene and nobody said cut. They keep rolling and rolling, and it's really kind of chaos sometimes. The editor and the sound editor put it all together, and you see magic. And so for 45 years next month, you have been watching magic. Who was here the first time around? Who's old enough to have seen? Oh yes, we're all getting older, aren't we? Okay, so a quick test. Some of you have not quite seen all of them, maybe. A little test. 1 to 9, favorite film. Episode 1, hands up. Don't put his hand down. Stand on your chair. Stand up on the chair so we can see you. One person. Okay. Episode 2. Thank you. Episode 1, 2. Oh, okay. Is good. We're on the prequels, aren't we? Yeah. Episode 3. Okay, that's the one with the sword fights that were really good. Okay, be ready for this. Episode 4.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, this is the killer, isn't it? Episode 5. Get on with it. Yeah. I'm learning to think. Episode 6. A little too much enjoyment there, man. Very carried away. It's not good for them. Not good for them. I'll see you afterwards, all right? Is he your handler there? Yeah. Just good. Where have we got to? 6. And of course, what was it? It was 1, 2, 3, 1V, V, and V1. Who knew? What suddenly happened? Okay. Calm here. Episode 7. Episode 8. Episode 9. Okay, it wasn't my fault, Please don't deactivate me. Okay. Episode 9 had lots and lots of good stuff in it, and I had the best time filming. Poor C-3PO, bullied and all that kind of thing. His eyes went red and everything like that. I had the best time. But I think there were some... People in general did like episode 5 the best. And I am transitioning. I'm transitioning from 4 to 5. I'm kind of doing the 2. So maybe you can help me. And you can help me today by maybe joining me in asking questions. Does anybody have a question that they would ask the only living person to be in all 9 episodes plus Rogue One plus Solo, kind of. So here I am, a living legend. And I am very grateful to Ian McDermott for being the warm-up guy. So who actually would like to ask a question? And because you are near the front and I'm old, what is your question?
What was the
What is your name? Sorry.
Tim? What was the bathroom process like?
9 Star Wars movies, 3 years at drama school. I come here to give you my wisdom and knowledge. And what is the first question I ask? What is the bathroom process? Is this an interest of yours at all?
Had to have a large bladder to play that role, or?
No, they didn't. No large bladder was available to play the role, so they asked me to play it instead. C-3PO played by a large bladder. It's an extraordinary thought. It probably became Jabba the Hutt. I think you're right. All those weird things. What was that awful? What was that scene in where Natalie and Hayden were romping around in a field like the sound of music? Remember that? And there was these bladder things. It was disgusting. It was really bad. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Because if it's going to be on this level, I can't cope for, I'm going to go home. Okay, to answer. Well, okay. Yeah, young sir here. Would you speak into that bit?
How did you get the C-3PO voice?
That's an extremely good question and so much better than the previous. Thank you. How old are you? You're 7 years old, and that was an extremely good question. And how old are you? There you go. Well, thank goodness for the young 7-year-old, well, very mature 7-year-old now. How did I come up with a 3PO voice? It's an extremely good question because I have been working on the script for 6 months whilst we made the costume, yeah? And I tried all sorts of voices at home. I am C-3PO, human cyborg relation, because Daleks were very big at the time. And I couldn't find anything that really worked. And then on the day when we'd flown over to Tatooine, I don't want to give away the secrets. It's called the Santa Claus thing. If I start saying it was Tunisia, North Africa, it's going to ruin people's memories for Tatooine. Okay, we'll call it Tatooine. We'd flown over to Tatooine, and I was jet lagged, permanently jet lagged, and we dressed up. I stood in the desert, and it was awful, 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 very tense making. And I knew the script. And then I began to speak as C-3PO, human cyborg relations, because he's a very uptight character, and all his musculature is very stiff and sort of tense, not just the suit, but inside that costume. And I heard Ian earlier talking about worrying about his back, because if you stand very tense all day, you have to wiggle out. But 3PO is very tense. And when you're tense, even your throat tightens up. And he is a very polite, uptight character, and he's always nervous. Nervous of what's happening, nervous for other people. And when you're like that, you can become a bit sort of tight here. And that's where I came up with C-3PO, human cyborg relations. Of course, George Lucas, on that very first shot, where I couldn't say the lines. Okay, can you say programming binary load lifters? You see, I still can't say it. Why, sir, my first job was programming binary load lifters. I can say it now. Back in the day, but and I didn't know it was my first film. I used to stop on the 3rd take of me messing up. Actually, it was the 4th take. George came out, 3rd take, and then he said, don't worry about the voice. You can say anything you like. We can fix it afterwards. I've never heard of this. What do you mean you can fix the voice? In theatre, once you're on stage, you can't fix anything. It's live, like here. Yeah? I mean, we managed to fix the beginning, but in a show, you have to muddle through. And it was ages later, 6 months later, that I found he hadn't liked C-3PO's voice. He wanted, kind of a more American voice. Enough Americans in the movie already, come on. Does it even out the score? So he tried to replace the voice, but it didn't work. Because 3PO is 3PO. He's the way he looks, he's the way he sounds, and he's the way he thinks. An extremely good question, and I haven't forgotten yours. Another question, possibly from somebody around the 10-year-old mark, because they seem to work better. Anybody in the back seats here? No, I feel I'm out of dark. Yes, sir.
So early on in Starlog magazines, there were interviews with all the principal players, but then later on in the late 80s, there was finally an interview with you, and you expressed that you weren't allowed to give public viewpoints of anything on your character to maintain the mystique of whether there was a person in there or a robot. So if you were allowed to give interviews in the 70s and 80s in Starlog, what would you express?
Eat your heart out. That was a really good question. Some of you may not know that I have written a book.